Here we go again, another video about AOC, and I was actually watching Jackson Hinkle's live stream. I think it was yesterday, day before, and he too had to do another segment talking about AOC, and he was just like, he said something that I felt for a while now, which is like I don't want to be talking about AOC this much. Like every single time I see some shit in the news, I really don't want to talk about AOC this much, but she is such an important figure because she is the most prominent, most popular leader on the left. Whether we like it or not, that is the truth. That is how the public sees her. That's how a lot of leftists see her in this country. So, or people who support left policies like Medicare for All, UBI, and all those things, radical climate action, they view her as the leader and the most prominent person pushing for those policies. So we're in this weird space where she's making it clear almost every day at this point, and every single time that it matters, she's going to side with the Democratic establishment. She's going to side with the leadership of the Democratic Party. And a lot of people aren't catching on to that. So they're still following her, believing that she's, true to the cause, true to the movement, and she's fighting for us. They're still going to follow her through hell and high water. But what's happening now is she's leading people, sheepdogging people, sheep herding people into the Democratic Party, and people who aren't really being as critical as they should be and are basically just following their favorite politician. And now she has people who call themselves leftists on the left justifying and doing apologetics for the corporate Democrats, because that's what AOC is doing. And the reason why I myself and like Jackson Hinkle or Frank Analysis or Jimmy Dore or Fee and Pasta at the Convo Couch Nico, the reason why we have to talk about AOC so much is because out of the whole left new media apparatus, there are very, very few people who are critical and who are going to accurately cover these moments from AOC. So either it's us who's going to cover it or nobody's going to cover it, and that myth is going to continue to be portrayed or perpetrated, whatever the word is, that AOC, she's really fighting for you. Oh, she's up against a huge hurdle of she's outnumbered in Congress, but boy, every day she puts on her battle armor and she's going out there fighting for the working class. If people aren't like us, aren't actively busting up that myth, it's going to continue to be perpetuated, and people are going to follow her lead, which is let's just vote for more Democrats. And 2 months into the Biden administration, we see what Democratic control of government is. Democrats control the House, Senate, and the White House, and they're passing stimulus bills that are even worse than when Donald Trump was president. They're continuing all the illegal wars and illegal bombings. The corruption is just as off the charts as it's ever been. And so clearly voting for Democrats is not the solution to our problems. It's not going to solve the immediate crises that people are dealing with right now: lack of healthcare, evictions, unemployment. Voting for Democrats is not going to solve that. So we need to put a spotlight on how failed this strategy is of supporting progressives in the Democratic Party. And we need to put a spotlight on that so that people can actually start to explore the other options like direct actions and supporting third-party candidates. And so this leads me to what we're talking about here in this video. So I've talked about this crisis at the border, this migrant crisis, a couple times lately. And you guys probably been following this too. The number of deportations. Joe Biden deported more people than Trump did in his first month in office. He so record numbers of deportations, the apprehensions at the border from Customs and Border Patrol are through the roof. The amount of children, migrant children, that are being detained in jail cells and these concentration camps is at record numbers, higher than they were ever during the Trump administration. So the situation is getting worse, much worse. And of course, Biden is continuing the drug war and the imperialism that breeds that destabilizes these migrants' home countries and forces them to flee here. So where Joe Biden has been in office, controls the White House, Democrats control the House and the Senate, and the immigration crisis is getting worse, and there are no signs that it's getting better. In fact, Joe Biden is opening even more concentration camps.
¿Cuál estás tú? ¿No estás?
And another a mind-blowing fact. So the in these concentration camps, there are these things called pods, I guess. And because of COVID and the regulations about being 6 feet apart and things like that, of course, I know all through this, they're sleeping on the floor, might I add, in the same conditions that you saw under the Trump administration. But during COVID, they're supposed to be, 6 feet apart and all that stuff for their safety. But they're so packed in these facilities. So one of these pods, they're supposed to hold like 32 people with the COVID regulation. When Biden let the press in the other day, they have 617 people in one pod. So they are multiple times over the capacity. They're so packed in these pods, these kids are so packed, that when they're sleeping on the floor at night, they have to sleep on their side so that everybody has room to lay down. That's what's happening in the United States. That's what's happening in these concentration camps. And so AOC, as if you've been watching this channel, if you've been watching others who've been critical of these Justice Democrats, it is clear as all hell that their role, the way that they view their role here in politics, is to run cover for the Democratic Party and at all costs defend the image and defend the power of the Democratic Party. Even if that goes against the interest of the policies that you claim to support. They will defend Joe Biden. They will defend the Democratic Party no matter what. And in this issue with the border crisis, AOC has rightfully been getting a lot of pushback because she doesn't sound the same way that she did when it was Donald Trump overseeing these concentration camps. When it was Trump, the human rights abuses, these people are monsters, they should be in prison, this is criminal. Shut down ICE, shut down the Department of Homeland Security, shut down Customs and Border Patrol. We need to abolish these institutions. Look at these human rights violations. Again, these are concentration camps. And once you say the words concentration camps, there is no... And she was right to call them concentration camps under Donald Trump. And once you say that something is a concentration camp, there's no, let's make it better. Let's do some tweaks here. Let's talk about some reforms that we can make and let's add some more workers. There is none of that. It's you shut down the concentration camps because concentration camps are just, they should not exist. And throughout history, we see how that plays out. But now that it's Joe Biden as president, I haven't heard her call them concentration camps once. She said Donald Trump was a fascist running concentration camps. I haven't heard her say that about Joe Biden yet. I haven't seen her go to these concentration camps like she did for the photo ops when Trump was president, standing outside the gates and crying and all this stuff, all the theatrics in committee hearings, grilling like the Department of Homeland Security secretary, or grilling the ICE officials. I don't see that. I don't see that. So she does not have the same energy that she did when it was Donald Trump. And the only explanation for that is because she's a partisan hack. And she is more loyal to the Democratic Party than she is to the migrants, to the children being kept in concentration camps. That's why now she isn't calling them concentration camps. She's calling them unaccompanied migrant influx facility, overflow facilities, and things like that. And I haven't heard her once say, let's close these camps, let's close these concentration. I haven't heard her say it once. So she's rightfully being getting criticized from her left on this. And she's trying to pretend like those people don't exist. And the only people who are even saying anything about the border crisis are like hypocrites like Ted Cruz and Sean Hannity, who are just doing this to score political points against Joe Biden. And that is a very small fraction of the people who are outraged about these concentration camps. But she's trying to straw man us all and act like we're just all bad faith actors, we're bad faith conservatives who don't actually care about this issue. This is just a talking point that we're trying to perpetuate in a news cycle. And she was doing some interview, discussion, whatever you want to call it. And in there, she did something really, really, really fucking gross. And basically was trying to act like there was some huge difference between what Donald Trump was doing with these concentration camps and what Joe Biden is doing. And I acknowledge that the child separation policy that Trump enacted was worse, and Biden undid some parts of it, but he's still separating families. So don't get that twisted. But anyway, she was trying to do this whole, don't make it a false equivalence. You can't say that the two of them are the same. And it was just a bunch of really gross apologetics for Joe Biden and the concentration camps. And so I have the clip. It's about a minute long. I'll show you the clip, and I'll come back and break it down.
I want to say is that the fact that this keeps happening over and over and over again is a political failure by both parties. And I want to be very clear about that, because I don't want to draw false equivalence. What is happening here is not the same as what happened during the Trump administration, where they took babies out of the arms of their mothers and deported their families and permanently traumatized these children, some of whom we don't know will ever be reunified with their family again, which is a level of human rights violation that is just simply not the same. Both of these things are barbaric and they're wrong. But when you rip a baby out of the hands of a mother, you cannot draw the same comparison. And anyone who is trying to do that is doing a profound disservice to the cause of justice. So I don't want to excuse any of this, but I don't think we should also get them twisted together, because one is not the same. And we cannot dust that under the rug. And by the way, those families are owed reparations, period.
That was just gross to watch. Danny Haifong said something about this being like the lesser of two evils. And I added on to that because that is such a great point. what we're seeing here is the manifestation of the lesser of two evils mindset. Because that logic will lead you to defending how your team runs concentration camps as opposed to the Republicans. And she's making drawing these weird lines and saying, oh, well, child separation under Trump. And we're not, well, she lied when she said that we're not doing it under Biden, because there are reports that children are still being separated under the Biden administration. But like, the fact that that's the hill that she wants to die on and act like that makes them completely different on this issue. They're both running concentration camps. They're both indefinitely holding people who are not criminals. They're indefinitely holding them without a trial or anything like that. And in horrific conditions, unsafe and unhealthy conditions. These are concentration camps. And the fact that she's going to come out here, talk out of her fucking neck and say that, come out her neck and say that, oh, well, like trying to pick which administrator of concentration camps is the best. As if that's the conversation we should be having. As if it shouldn't just be, Joe Biden needs to shut these things down, and he's criminally responsible for what's happening in these concentration camps. And there needs to be massive public pressure. People need to be protesting outside the White House. People need to be protesting outside of Congress until they fix this problem. That should be the conversation that we're having for the left as far as the Biden administration and these concentration camps. But here is AOC running cover and telling everybody, oh, it's not that bad, it's not that bad, it's not that bad. So you see the problem that we're having here, right? And the left has, I don't want to sound like Debbie Wasserman Schultz with the whole potential for momentum, but that's the best phrasing that is coming across my mind right now. The left has this immense potential for momentum at this moment. There's energy for protests, as we've seen with the Black Lives Matter protests, massive unemployment, so people aren't even distracted by working those other things that normally would keep people from protesting. You also have the internet. New media and independent media is as popular as ever, and people are more informed than ever. And then you, in the halls of Congress and the halls of power, we have enough elected progressives in the House to hold up all legislation until their demands are met. And the same in the Senate. Bernie Sanders could do that. Or if anything passes, any legislation passes through budget reconciliation, he's the one who writes the bill. So progressives, in theory, that we have all this potential for this momentum. We have all of this energy that is just ready, just needs to be wielded in the right way in order for us to get the results that we need. In the case of this specific story, we need to close these concentration camps. We need to give these people amnesty. And we need to talk about the long-term solutions that get to the root of the crisis, like ending our imperialism and ending the drug war. That's what we should be doing right now. And she isn't doing any of that. She hasn't introduced legislation about what to do with these concentration camps, and she isn't organizing protests. But what she is doing is coming out here, as always, trying to tell you the Democrats, chill. They aren't that bad, guys. Let me tell you how the Republicans are worse. And that is not what we need at this moment. And the fact that she is, like I said, the way the public views her is the leader of the left movement. She has tens of millions of followers. And this is how she's using her reach. This is how she's using her power. That is unacceptable, and she deserves to be called out for it. So I'm not in the business of picking which war criminal is less bad than the others and which one runs concentration camps slightly less barbaric than the other ones. How about this? If you run concentration camps, you are my enemy. If you're a war criminal, you are my enemy, and I will help put pressure on you to make you change these policies and adopt the right policies. That's That's the only way that we should be going about this. Instead of this mealy-mouthed bullshit, oh, lesser of two evils, oh, aren't the Republicans worse? I don't care. They're both bad. If you run it like the famous Sam Cedar quote, oh, well, Democrats, if they promise one concentration camp less, I'm going to vote for them. That doesn't work for me because I don't want any concentration camps. And you can say, oh, well, you only have these two choices. It's going to be this person's president. It's going to be this person's president. Or it's going to be this party that wins the election or this party that wins the election. I don't care. If you're going to tell me the result's going to be we're going to have concentration camps, well, guess what? I'm going to check out electorally, and all my political efforts would be towards public pressure campaigns and direct actions to get the policies that the policies that we need, instead of oh, I'll just fold and get the less shitty option, even though that also means concentration camps. So I don't know what to tell you guys here. This is gross. This is just gross.